Hi, this is Matthew Almeida, and I'm here with another video. A topic that may expose a certain hypocrisy of our government. You know, some days back, 2 3 days back, our president Draupadi Murmu has visited Portugal, and the things she did there, the words she spoke, exposes the hypocrisy which some of our ministers and politicians do back here in Goa. Now, when we say or when we talk about Portugal, it's always in relation to Goa because Goa was the place where they had made their base. Of course, it can relate to other places also, but when we talk about India, it's always Goa. On 26th March, our Chief Minister, Mr. Pramod Sawant, came with one of the on 26th March, the Chief Minister of Goa once again came up with one of his rhetorics, and that is when asked in assembly why Bihar Divas was celebrated in Goa, he replied saying this: the same was done because the governor of Goa celebrated Goa Liberation Day in Bihar as lots of Biharis took part in Goan's liberation and Portuguese committed atrocities in Goa and made structures for their benefit. On April 7th also, Chief Minister once again said that the Odias and Rajasthanis have fought for the liberation of Goa. But who has actually fought for the liberation of Goa? I think we all know very well. I've spoken of it in previous videos and I can speak of it in some other time as well. But the irony of the first speech is this. Just last month, the same Chief Minister said that only 3 talukas of Goa were ruled under the Portuguese, whereas the others were under Shivaji Maharaj for around 250 years. So, if atrocities were borne or were faced by any people, it were the native local Goans and not settlers who came after the liberation or who entered while the Portuguese were ruling these 3 talukas, that is Bardes, Tiswadi and Salsett. In fact, Ponda, Sangli, Sattari hardly saw any of the influence of Portuguese rule. Thousands of Goans fought for Goa's liberation and even fought Operation Vijay in December 1961. Where are they remembered? When are they remembered and what is being done to keep their memory? I have said this in my previous video also on are there too many statues, and I've said how the statues are being put all over, but hardly anyone is putting statues of those who actually fought for Goa's liberation. Just a week back, just a week back before he made this speech, 3 of the Chief Minister's legislative colleagues, including one minister, were in Portugal on Goa on government duty, having a good time. You can see this image. Did they ask the Portuguese to apologize for the atrocities which our ancestors had to face, which the CM was talking about? 70,000 non-Goan Indians are happily settled in Portugal, most of them from vibrant Gujarat, from UP, from Bihar, from Rajasthan and a lot of other places, which also then includes Goans. That is, of course. But imagine from Gujarat, UP, Bihar and etc. On April 8th, 2025, India's President Draupadi Murmu was on a visit to Portugal. The Indian community in Portugal was excited. You can see this image, how excited they are. If Portuguese did atrocities, why are they being spoken here? Are Portuguese still there in Goa to answer these questions? Can't you go to Portugal and address them? Can't you go to Portugal and address these issues? When our leaders go to Portugal, you can ask their president, ask their prime minister to apologize and to say something about it. Our prime minister regularly goes to Portugal and even says, Viva Portugal. And now that our president went there, did they even speak about these things? Some people claim that talking about Portugal hurts their sentiments. They say that if you say Viva Portugal, or you talk about something good that happened under the Portuguese regime, they say you are hurting our sentiments, you are hurting the sacrifices our people made. The other day, someone asked Advocate Uday Bhimre, who is the son of a freedom fighter and even spent 5 years in jail in Portugal, Portuguese dukor rastolotum. Portuguese passport kalare. You can watch this little clipping of the video when these people went in the night to threaten Mr. Uday Bhimre.
Portuguese दुकान मारो तुम
नेशनॅलिटी पण असं म्हणतो तुझी पोर्चुगीज
Will the same question the president and the prime minister who go to Portugal, will they be able to ask the same question to a president and to a prime minister? No doubt Portuguese committed atrocities. They did. But if Portuguese committed atrocities and are still answerable, why did the Indian government through India Post in 2017 release friendship stamps with Portugal featuring the Dandiya and Polteros dance? No one's sentiments were hurt at that time when they saw these stamps. Look at this video, dear friends. Our president is paying tribute to Luís Camões Vaz, the national poet of Portugal, who spent part of his life in Goa. Additionally, commemorative stamps of India and Portugal friendship were released featuring dances from Rajasthan. President said that India considers Portugal as a friend for good relations with the European Union, for better European Union ties in its quest for Viksit Bharat 2047. You can watch this video and see what I'm trying to say.
हम 2047 तक भारत को एक विकसित देश, विकसित भारत बनाने के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, जो एक समृद्ध, समावेशी और विकसित समाज होगा, जिसका जीवन केंद्रित दृष्टिकोण होगा, मानव केंद्रित दृष्टिकोण होगा। भारत आज भी मानता है वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, संपूर्ण पृथ्वी एक परिवार है। हम विश्व के समृद्ध भविष्य की सुनिश्चित करने की दिशा में अपना योगदान जारी रखेंगे। इन प्रयासों में हम पोर्तुगाल को एक विश्वसनीय मित्र और साझेदार के रूप में देखते हैं।
So, is it not an irony that our chief minister speaks bad of Portugal and even called for wiping away the traces of Portuguese culture in Goa, while the prime minister and president of our country go to Portugal, they praise the Portuguese people, they praise the Portuguese government and wants to maintain friendly relations with Portugal to make their ties with European Union better and to have better trade and business and so on, goes and honors poets like Camões, whose statue was once in front of Say Cathedral, but the so-called hyper-nationalists went and destroyed it, and therefore they vandalized it, not destroyed, they vandalized it, and therefore it has to be removed, and it is now in the museum which is just near St. Francis of Assisi Church. Here, my dear friends, Why are our leaders trying to be hypocrites? That outside they show that they have good relations, but here we are told that we cannot preserve those cultural roots that we have, influence of Portuguese culture that has come. When President Murmu was addressing the people of Portugal and also the Indian diaspora, President Murmu said it thanked the people of Portugal for being vibrant, open-minded and tolerant. You can see in these images there are so many temples, Hindu celebrations are going on, and everyone living in peace and harmony without any problem. Come back here. What is happening? Every time, especially the Christian community is targeted by saying Portuguese dhukur or Portuguese pigs, Rasbek converts, etc. When it comes to us respecting our freedom to practice our religion, there are a lot of things that are said, a lot of things that are done to stop us and threaten us. But you go to Christian dominated Portugal, their freedom is respected. No one is troubled. You don't get news of temples being vandalized or destroyed. I think these things exposes the hypocrisy of our leaders.